and welcome to the romance track here at ConTinual. Tonight we are talking about Valentine's romance. And to do that, we've got a slate of wonderful romance authors here. I'm your host, Gail Martin and Morgan Brice, but I'm going to let our wonderful authors introduce themselves before we get started because there's so much to talk about. Starting with you, Kiki.
I'm Kiki Burrelli. I am a gay paranormal romance writer. I published my first book, Finding Finn, in 2016, and I'm about to publish my 56th title, I think, this weekend. So been doing it and writing books and just loving every minute.
Great. Hildie.
Hi, everybody. I'm Hildie McQueen, and I write medieval Highlander romance. I like to think of men with nothing but kilts on, but most of the time the cold weather's cold, so they do have to wear tunics. So I am a USA Today bestselling author, and right now the one series you should read is the Clan Ross series. I think that's all I have to say right now.
All right, Janet.
Hi, I'm Janet Walden-West, and I write paranormal romance and urban fantasy romance and a little bit of contemporary. And I'm like feeling the baby now after Kiki because my debut came out last year and I just had 2 out this year. So
very nice. Jeannie.
Hey, I'm Jeanne Adams. I write paranormal romance. I write romantic suspense. I write urban fantasy, and I write fabulous space adventures with my friend Nancy Northcott, which don't have romance in them, but everything else does.
Okay, Donna.
I'm Donna MacMeans. I write sexy historical romance traditionally, and then I also self-publish my paranormal romance, and I love it. I love it. I can't imagine writing a book, Jeannie, without romance in it. It's just a way of life. But hey, that's me. Oh, I should mention that my latest release came out just this last December, right before Christmas, and it's called Bring in the New, and it's gargoyles. Dancing with Gargoyles is my story, and I love it.
Which is a collection that has several of us in it.
Yeah. Yes, you are in it as well.
I am. Nancy.
I'm Nancy Northcott, and I write historical fantasy with strong romantic elements for Falstaff Books. I also independently publish paranormal romantic suspense, which is the green guy up there, and regular romantic suspense that doesn't have any paranormal elements. And these are male-female romances. And then, as Jeannie said, we write science fiction, mystery, adventure, whatever we feel like making the next book be, that generally doesn't have romance in it, at least not yet.
And you are also the publisher of the Canaan Castle series, to which Jeannie and Donna and I you have all been contributors in the past.
This is true. I do publish those because somebody had to, so I did it.
I'm Gail Martin and Morgan Brice. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy that have a little bit of romance, but a whole lot of action and explosions. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. And that includes 3 Canaan Castle collections, which are all a shared world, a series set in a fictitious castle in England. So, you know, it's February, and like it or not, we've got Valentine's Day coming up. Are you a big Valentine's person or not? I'm gonna delve right into the most controversial question you'll get tonight. Yes or no on Valentine's Day? Love it or hate it? Starting with you, Hildie.
I love it. And it's funny because I don't like chocolate, but I love Valentine's Day, the whole idea of it. As a matter of fact, I just was sitting here at my desk looking at all this stuff that I picked up at the stores. So I'm going to send, little cards to my daughters with little gifts in them. And then I have little bags. So I send little gifts. I meet with friends for lunch and they'll each get a little bag. I'm trying to decide what to put in there. So I love that kind of stuff. Because my love language is giving. So to me, anytime there's a holiday where I get to give things away, it makes it fun. And then during our book club, I have a book club here locally. We, of course, celebrate romance during February. So then I get a chance to give them, you know, some swag for my books, or friends of mine, you know, other authors send me swag. I share it with them. I do all kinds of stuff. Oh yeah, there is this guy that I live with, my husband. What do I do with him? Not much, really. I'll get him a Valentine's card. We give each other Valentine's card. We don't do a lot of celebrating on occasions, but we do like we'll eat, you know, get something special to eat. You'd probably delivered this year because I hate going out to eat on Valentine's because restaurants are so packed. So we usually do something here at the house special, like watch a movie and order food. But yeah, to me, it's so much fun. It's just fun.
Okay. Donna, how about you?
I love Valentine's Day. I wore my red just for Valentine's Day. You know what I like? I like those little candy hearts. You know, the ones with little sayings. I love those things. And I give those out. I went shopping today and I got a Valentine's Day card for my grandson, who's 5 years old. Those little kid Valentine's Day cards are really cute. However, the store was just crazy. And it had a ton of Valentine's Day stuff in it. So I imagine it is a big marketing day. As for celebrations, sometimes my husband and I go out, or like Hildie, we stay in and just kind of celebrate at home. You know, I'm almost been married for almost 50 years, and it's kind of hard to come up with something unique on Valentine's Day. So, but I think it's really a special day, and it may have its marketing components to it, but I think it's an important day to celebrate.
Okay. Janet.
I am a sucker for Valentine's too. I have my official Valentine manicure that I just did last night. I'm kind of like Hildie. It's like, yeah, on the chocolate and yeah, on roses. But I love the whole idea, you know, people doing things for each other, reaching out and showing that you care. Food is always good. I'm a sucker for those Reese's Hearts that they have out now. My kids and I have decided those have the perfect ratio of peanut butter to chocolate. So they're always in demand here. And my husband and I is really funny because when we first started dating, he tried really hard to do the traditional thing, you know, like dinner, candlelight, or, you know, going out of town for something. And it never worked out the way it does in the movies. Like the last time we went before we got married, we went to Asheville, get in a hotel room, you're going to stay there and everything. And the hotel looked great in the photos. And we got there and it was more like something out of, say, the first 5 minutes of Supernatural. You're kind of waiting for like a murder clown to jump out of your room at you. So, I love the idea, but I love being non-traditional about it too.
Okay. Jeannie's apparently having some internet issues, so I'm sure we'll get her back at some point. Nancy, how about you?
I like Valentine's Day a lot. I mean, I'm a sucker for sentiment. I write romance, among other things. I mean, you can't write romance if you're not into sentiment. And we don't do a big Valentine's Day celebration, though, because when our son was small, going out to dinner was a chore because we could not get a sitter because nobody wants to babysit on Valentine's Day. And so we usually have a quiet celebration here. And I love flowers, but I get irritated when the price gets jacked up at certain times of the year. And as things would happen, we met in late February. And so we just do a quiet dinner and some champagne or something like that on Valentine's Day. And then we go out to dinner and we do the big shebang when it's after Valentine's Day. And, you know, our son doesn't need a sitter anymore, but we got in the habit when he was small. And so we don't have to worry about a sitter. We didn't have to worry about one. And flowers are their ordinary prices again. And it's good that the chocolate is picked over because I love chocolate and I could eat one of those whole big Whitman red heart things all by my own self in a single sitting. And that's really not good for me. So that's my take on Valentine's Day.
Jeannie, you're back with us. Quick, fill us in.
I'm back. Well, my husband is an accountant, so he is right in the middle of the beginning of the craziness for corporate accounting stuff. So we agreed when we started dating that we would have our Valentine's Day celebration a couple weeks early. Like Nancy, both of us are a little Scotch when it comes to the price being jacked up on the flowers. And I also have told him frequently, buy me flowers while I'm alive. So he tends to buy me flowers fairly regularly, which I love. I love chocolate, so he goes that route, and we always exchange cards. But we tend to, like Nancy said, leave the dinner till a little bit later. And one year, famously, we spent most of Valentine's Day praying that our son would not be born on Valentine's Day. His birthday, our youngest son, is born on the 17th, so he did wait a few more days to show up. So, but I like the chocolates, gotta admit.
Okay, Kiki.
Well, I know the question was love or hate, but I don't think I love or hate Valentine's Day. It's probably not my favorite holiday. Like Halloween, I'm the type where I am decorating
Yes.
at the end of August. I'm decorating for Christmas November 1st. Like I am there for holidays, and then my birthday's in January. So usually by the time I get to February, I'm a little bit holidayed out, and I always tell my husband, like, let's just not do anything. Let's just have dinner at home. And he always gives me something, and then I never have anything for him, even though we promised. So that sort of makes it a little worse too. But I mean, I do love candy, so there's that.
Yeah, I fell in love with Valentine's Day back in elementary school, and we got to decorate the shoe boxes with like the doilies and things. And then it was a big deal. What kind of Valentine were you going to pick this year to give out to all your friends? That was a major decision point. And those little conversation hearts, Donna, you know, they're good to eat, but they also looked pretty glued to the doilies on the shoebox just to fancy it up, you know?
Very versatile.
Yeah, very. And so, and I when I was a kid, I thought the epitome of glamour would be to get one of those candy boxes that is in the shape of a heart with like the ruched satin and the lace and all that. And then I found out that most of the time, all the effort goes into the box and not in the chocolates, and it's a bit of a letdown. So now I'll go for a plain box with good chocolate. So yeah, I love Valentine's Day. I'm with you, Jeannie, on not wanting to pay a premium. So 2 words on flowers, Trader Joe's. They always have a great selection at a great price. And while I love chocolate, what I could eat a whole bag of are those jelly cinnamon hearts. I mean, I think they're Brock's. I could eat like an entire bag of them, and I shouldn't. So it's very hard to stay away from those, because if they come in the house, they're gone, and it's all going to be me. So we know who ate them. So now, have you ever written Valentine's Day into a story? And if you haven't, that's okay. What would your characters do? Pick a couple from any of your books. What would they do for Valentine's Day if it isn't in their book? Donna?
Well, I haven't written any Valentine's Day books. And the best I could think of are my characters from Dancing with Gargoyles. And quite frankly, they're happy to be alive, because one was supposed to die in the book on New Year's, on the celebration for New Year's Eve. So, but he discovered that he loves to dance. And I think that in that story, they'd be out dancing for Valentine's Day. And drinking. He discovered the joy of scotch. So they'd be drinking. That's the best I can come up with on the spur of the moment.
Janet, how about you?
I actually have written a Valentine's celebration into one of my books. My Region 2 series is paranormal romance. And most of the cast are, super secretive Black Ops soldiers. They don't get to go out and do anything like that. They're not supposed to be memorable, yet they're all fascinated by pop culture. So when one finally is in a relationship, her boyfriend decides, I'm going to go all out for this. This is where I'm going to propose to her too. And no one in the organization has ever gotten married. So I'm going to make this huge. And every time he goes all out, putting lanterns and candles up and buying out probably Trader Joe's with all the flowers, they get crashed by a monster. And finally, he's just like, next year, how about we have Valentine's Day during like July, when it's the dead time for monster hunting?
Okay, that makes sense. Jeannie.
I have not written a Valentine's romance, but one of my favorite couples is the couple from the original Christmas at Canaan Castle, who appears in virtually everyone's story because he's the Earl and she's now his wife. And although their romance was in Christmas at Canaan Castle, because he's an Earl in charge of a castle that's a hotel, I think Valentine's Day for them would be super fun. And they too would probably go dancing, like Donna said. They'd probably be hosting a dance or something of that nature. And I think that Ward, being an English Earl, would probably do it up right. There would be flowers and chocolate. So
Okay.
they'd be fun for Valentine's.
Good European chocolate with a high milk fat content.
Cadbury.
Yes. Nancy.
Well, I'll continue the parade of people who have not actually written a Valentine's Day story. And as everybody else was talking, I was sitting here thinking, well, which couple from which series? And I think the couple from the Light Mage Wars Paranormal Romances, in the first book, Caroline and Rick, she is blind and she is a fabric artist, because her magical ability, they're all mages, her magical ability is to sense color by touch. And so that's how she weaves. She runs her hand over the material on the loom and can pick up the colors of the threads that way. And so I think for Caroline and Rick, a holiday that involves textures would be important. So the feel of roses would be important to her. The fizz of the champagne when you drink it, the softness of the clothes or not that your partner is wearing. I think they would probably they'd probably go dancing at the roadhouse where they met. And it's the first time she'd ever danced because she wasn't comfortable in a big crowd. And he took her out on a night that was quiet and taught her to do the two-step. So it's kind of their dance, their place. So I think they'd go out to the Ramblers Roadhouse outside Macon, Georgia, which is imaginary. There's no real Ramblers Roadhouse. And then have roses and champagne and probably chocolates, because again, not only taste but texture, for their Valentine's celebration.
Nice. Now I'm hungry. Kiki.
Well, like I said, I love holidays. So I have a whole series. It's called Welcome to Morningwood, and each of the books are centered around their own holiday. So I have written a Valentine's Day book. It's this one. It's called Sweet Meat, and it's actually on sale this month, both the ebook and the paperback. But the holiday, the Valentine's-ness of it kind of gets a little obscured by the fact that there's this hitman, and then I have Malcolm, who is a tiger shifter and also is one of the people involved with protecting the town of Morningwood, which is this town of like a bunch of different shifters, and he's protecting it from a hitman, and along the way finds this young man named Brisbane, and he can't leave him, so he takes him back to Morningwood, and then you know what happens after that.
Hildy.
I was hoping to get out of this by saying, I write medieval romance, but then I was looking on my phone. I was like, crap, it started in the year 490 or something. So, so then I had to pick a couple. So I decided that in my Clan Ross series, there's a hero, and it's the book titled The Beast. And he has been through a lot and never expected to get married because he didn't think he could find someone that will see past all his scarring and his different issues. And then he meets Beatrice, who is like, she's so fun and delightful and just, made made him laugh and, you know, things that he hadn't done in years. So he does anything for her. Well, where they live in on the Isle of Uist is around their house in the back, there's this big giant lavender field. So if I were to write something to do around Valentine's Day, I think I would have him collect bunches of lavender and just fill like the house with it, so that she would be surprised when she walked in. I think that would be a nice scene of something that he would do for her.
That sounds fantastic. I actually have written a Valentine's romance short story, and it's set in my Badlands series, which is about a psychic medium and a skeptical homicide cop who chase down supernatural killers in Myrtle Beach. And in this case, it's not a killer as much as a restless ghost. And it turns out that they are doing an exhibit about the old airfield that is now an airport, and it used to be the Army Air Corps base during World War II. And a pair of star-crossed lovers, of course, I write male-male romance, so two guys who had to keep their romance secret back in the day, and then one of them didn't come back from flying his mission. And through it all, Simon gets to broker getting them back together again. So it's kind of sweet and love conquers all and all of that. So that is my Valentine's romance out there, and it's free on Prolific Works. It's called Cover Me. So what do you like best about writing romance? Janet?
That is a good question. I am one of those people who enjoys the torture of a slow burn. So I like that build up, preferably between two people that have nothing in common and may not even like each other to begin with. And then it's just like the little touches, the little gestures. It's like, oh, they're not so bad. And someone does something, you know, really special for someone else. And then you end up with the giant reveal. Yes, we do love each other. We're going to make this work. But I love that build up. It is so fun.
Okay. Jeannie?
What's not to love? I mean, there's so much, no matter what trope you use, no matter how you torture your characters before you get them to their happily ever after, there's nothing like the conflicts and resolutions and sexiness and fun of writing romance. And every time it's a different story, and yet you still get to that wonderful happily ever after place. So it's just delightful to write and read, and you know, I just love it.
Okay. Nancy?
Guaranteed happy ending. Absolutely. I read almost all genre fiction, if it's not history or something for research. I read a little mainstream fiction and some women's fiction, and I read no literary fiction, because it's not so much about forming a commitment to another person as learning to be stronger in yourself. And one of the first books like that I read was so depressing. I mean, this woman's parents died and she'd been their caretaker, and now she was free and she was going to spread her wings and she was going to build her life. And she fell in love with this jerk, and he was her first love. And then it turns out he's married and everything is awful. And then at the end of the book, she's stronger in herself. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with a story about that. Lots of us go through things that we come out of stronger at the end of it, and it's good for us. It's just that I just prefer things where people end up actively happy. That just suits me better. And a friend of mine once said, romance is the genre of healing, because characters come to a relationship with baggage and emotional scars. And sometimes we make that worse along the way. We kind of make it a little hard on them down the road. But you know, by the end of the book, they've come to grips with it. Like with Caroline, she had a bad experience when she was 11. She got lost in a shopping mall at Christmas time and panicked. And ever since then, she's been afraid of crowds. And so what the book gives Caroline is a chance to come out of her shell. And a lot of characters in romances have to come out of their shell in some way or another. And sometimes it's a shell they don't even realize they're sitting in. But that's what I like. I like to maybe beat people up a little bit with their problems along the way, but then make them happy and resolved at the end.
Okay, Kiki.
I think what I really love about romance is, and particularly probably paranormal romance, is the ability to break completely away from reality and to not have it be something that would happen, to your neighbor or something like that. You can have things be the best and the most perfect that they could be, and you're allowed to because romance allows for that thing. I also like how, any plot that's going on in a romance story, you're also going to have the anticipation of the couple and the tension between the couple that really, I think, just drives everything forward a whole lot more interestingly. And then I also really enjoy that there are no limits to exploring different types of love languages. There's nothing that you have to keep back because you can just put it whatever works out there for the character. And I enjoy that.
Okay, Hildie.
And the most enjoyable thing to me about romance is going on the journey with these two people that come from two different places. And I think, the whole part of them getting to know each other, and you're walking through them. Every time you read a romance, you go through the whole journey with these two characters. To me, that's amazing. And also how they help each other, how you learn what is each of their, issues and problems and baggage that they bring with them, and how the other person either accepts them. They work through the things together, and then in the end they always work it out and end up together. And then to me, I'm like, oh, that's the best part about romance to me.
And Donna.
Well, everything I write, I take an approach. I want my reader, which are generally women, to, when they read my romance, to remember how it felt when they first met their significant other. Because, after you've been married for a long time, a lot of those discoveries they aren't as exciting. So that's what I love about a romance. You can read a romance, and through deep point of view, you're in that character, and you remember what that's like to fall in love, to love somebody that you're not sure whether they love you back, to be in a situation where there's a lot of sensual tension. And especially with my Victorian romances, sensual tension, you're not supposed to have it, but it's there and you can't avoid it. And that's what I like. I just like the discovery. And like Nancy, I like the happily ever after, the guaranteed happily ever after. I've read stories that, although they're not depressing when they end, they just kind of end. And there's no somewhat celebration, although there may not be a celebration in a sense like Valentine's Day at the end. There's a celebration that the two are together and they're going to start a life together and they're going to go off together. So I like the happily ever after. I like having that you're sunk in a character, generally two characters, and you really feel like a roller coaster. You feel those emotions and tensions. I like that. I will always write romance. I love it.
Well, I totally agree with you on the happily ever after. I refuse to read books that don't at least have an ending where the good guys mostly win. Because if I want to be depressed, I can read the news. I want to read something where I know who the good guys are and where they win in the end, even if they're battered and bloodied. And that holds true for my fantasy as well as my romance. I want a happy ending, a good ending at the end. And so that's one of the satisfying things for me, is that they have to fight for that good ending. They may have to sacrifice for that good ending, but in the end, they're going to get their heart's desire and have a happy ending. And that's a wonderful thing to sit down with and know, no matter what the story puts you through, you're going to get there in the end. And I'll admit, I'm the person who will go peek at the end just to make sure they deliver on their promise. That's me. even an ebook. So what are your favorite tropes when it comes to writing romance? Jeannie?
Oh my gosh, I love all of them. My favorite probably, Hildie was mentioning this about her book, The Beast, which is excellent, is that Beauty and the Beast trope. I love that one. I love Friends to Lovers. I like all of them, but those are my favorites.
Okay, Janet.
I really love that whole enemies to lovers, or at least opposites attract, because they do have to go through so many different stages. First, from I don't even understand you, or I can't stand you, to okay, maybe you're not as bad as I thought. Then maybe, okay, we're friends, that's fine. And then someone is like, oh no, I really like them. And that whole stage where they're trying to deny it and finally come together. I think those are very satisfying.
Nancy?
As Jeannie said, I pretty much like all of them. I mean, the only ones I don't like are forced proximity. I do like forced proximity, but every once in a while I read one where the forced proximity is such that the heroine ought to be getting the heck out of there and calling the police because this guy's a total stranger. And so those don't work so well for me. I mean, other people don't have a problem with that, and that's fine. But I tend to use Second Chance at Love and Friends to Lovers, which was not even a conscious decision. But I was looking back over the different books and I thought, there's a lot of this in here. So I think that may be kind of telling. But yeah, those Friends to Lovers and Second Chance at Love are probably my favorite too.
I love both of those tropes, but I'm also a sucker for hurt comfort. You know, let's have somebody rescue somebody. Let's have them, you know, stuck in an avalanche. Let's have the stakes high, and that drives you to realize how much you really care about this person. I'm a total sucker for hurt comfort. Kiki?
Like Janet, I also really like the enemies to lovers trope, but I also have a very soft spot for like protective, possessive alphas who like do things that in real life, like Nancy said, you should probably be calling the cops, but in the books it works and it makes my heart pound. So I love those. And then also I really like age difference, probably romances. I write a lot of those. They're kind of my candy.
Okay, Hildie?
I love the knight in shining armor who comes in and saves the day. I don't know. I write that a lot. And I think it's part of the fact that I am attracted to writing opposite worlds, where either she's royalty and he's, you know, able hand, or the opposite where he's the laird and she's, you know, the kitchen maid. I just love doing the upstairs, downstairs, and the heroic guy who comes in her time of need when she is at her bottom, you know, the rock bottom, needing to be saved. I guess I love the guy that comes and swoops in and saves the day. And like, you know, it'd probably be annoying nowadays, but for romance, it is so cool.
How about you, Donna?
Oh, you asked that question, I knew immediately. My favorite trope is fish out of water. I love to put the heroine in awkward situations where she doesn't know people, she doesn't know the country, she doesn't know how to act. And I just love, which is kind of like the different worlds situation that Hildie described. But I love fish out of water. I tend to turn to it a lot. And then there may be other smaller tropes going on in the background or interview, but man, that's my go-to place. And you know what? It has to do with my history. And I don't know if you have found tropes, everyone else, the tropes that you choose, that you turn to a lot, are tropes that you have experienced in your time. I know that there's been a number of situations where I'm the fish out of water. Now what do I do? You know, how do I react? How do I do this? So I use that a lot. Plus, it allows me to embarrass people, either the hero or the heroine. I can embarrass the heck out of them because I know how that feels too, to be embarrassed. So I can write that.
So is there a trope or a setting or a subgenre that you have always wanted to write but haven't done it yet? And if so, what is it? Nancy?
Oh, I knew you were going to come to me first in the rotation. I have not written an outright enemies to lovers, and I think that might be fun to play with. I mean, I've written ones where they thought they were enemies at the very beginning, but it doesn't last more than a couple of chapters. One of my least favorite movie type scenes is heroes fight, because lots of times when the heroes fight, if they would just talk for 5 minutes, there wouldn't be a fight. It's like the misunderstanding romance that could be solved in a 10-minute conversation. I'm sure we've all seen those. But one of my favorite of all the movies in the Marvel universe is Captain America Civil War, because it's a heroes fight movie and everybody has a good, solid, grounded reason that they can't resolve until the very end of the movie. And so for me, that actually is relevant to what I'm going to say. The enemies to lovers romance, I would need, for me to be happy with it, to come up with something where it would really be hard for them to give up their established positions and get to be on the same team. And, you know, as I sit here talking about it, I realize I've never written one because I don't have a good idea for that. And so until I do, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Okay. Kiki?
This is the hard one because I feel like I've done a lot of sampling. I've done sci-fi and aliens and shifters and historical romance. So I tell people it's about as historical as that Night movie with Heath Ledger in it, because it doesn't really have the accuracy. But yes. I think writing a royalty would be fun, princes or princesses or kings, and then also doing maybe less direct romance but more paranormal YA or new age, kind of going through like the exploration of growing up rather than meeting these two people as they're bitter and old.
Okay. Hildie?
I think I would love to, and I actually who was that? I don't know who said second chance romance. Did you, Donna? Or somebody said it. It got me thinking about the fact that I've never written second chance romance for one of my medievals. So I think that would be really fun to do, because I haven't done it. I haven't written, that character that was perhaps in a relationship and then were separated and come back again. I think that would be fun to do. As far as a trope, as far as a genre, I am really I keep considering it, but I don't know if I'll ever do it. I would love to write a cozy mystery. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Nice. Donna?
Well, I think Hildie and I are just like sisters. I have an idea for a cozy mystery I would love to write. And you know what I'd like to do, and you guys have all done this, so you're going to think I'm crazy, is do a fantasy that involves magic and maybe some shifters in there. I have done paranormal, but they haven't been shapeshifters. I've done time travel, and I've done my gargoyles come to life. I guess that's the closest I've come to a shifter. But I'd like to do something where magic is accepted, and that you can and the magicians or the witches or whoever has magic powers can kind of weave situations. And you guys have all done that, but I'm not as strong in paranormal as you are. So you're living my fantasy. So count yourself very lucky every time you pick up that pen. But yeah, that's what I would do. It's not going to happen, but that's what I would do.
Never say never. Janet?
That's right.
I want to write a good amnesia romance. I love them,
I've done
but
that.
for some reason I have never tried it. And I'm going to steal half of Nancy's too, because if I could do an amnesia one and time travel, I think that would be awesome. Talk about fish out of water there. There's so much you could potentially play with.
My very first book that I wrote is Amnesia. And the problem is trying to write that story where the person can't remember anything. I mean, their name. And so what do you call them, or how do you deal, not so much with the story happening, the plot, but trying to do, that was tough. And it's probably a good way to write your first book because you have to learn so much in the process. But
How about you, Jeannie?
Sherry.
Oh my gosh, I think I would love to do, I've never done a hurt comfort like you were talking about, Gail. I've never done one where somebody is a rescuer and a rescuee. I've never done that, and I think I'd like to. I've always wanted to do a snowstorm one. I've never written one where she rescues him, and I want to do that. So
That sounds like fun. Yeah, the one that, well, I mean, there are many out there that I haven't done, but I haven't done a historical that was a romance. I've done epic fantasy set in a quasi-European medieval setting, but not a romance. And I do have a new series coming up, hopefully this spring, that's set in the late 1800s, sort of like Wild-West if Jim and Artie were together. And so
yay.
I'm doing that. And then, you know, most people go, what, you mean they weren't? But it all depends on your headcanon when you watch the old series. So I'm going to tiptoe into that and see how that goes. Well, folks, we have blown through our time. So it's time to go around, let everybody know if you have a new, recent, or upcoming book and where we can find you online. And I'm going to go in reverse order and pick on Nancy this time.
Well, as I actually have an answer to that question, so that's good. My newest release, as we record this, is Mage Sentinel, and it's on all the ebook vendors, and coming out probably by the time you read this will be the sequel to it, which is Renegade Mage. And you can find information about me at nancynorthcott.com. I do have a Facebook author page, but I tend to forget I have a Facebook author page, so it's not very informative. But you can find me on Twitter where I'm at Nancy Northcott, and I spend probably more time than is good for me.
Okay, Janet.
I have the Region 2 series, which is fairly new, and the third book in the series is coming out this spring, Agent of Chaos, which is kind of a reverse power dynamic. The heroine saves the hero in this one. And you can find me and my books at Janet Walden-West at my website, same handle on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.
And Jeannie.
Well, you can find the Canham Castle books out now. Christmas at Canham Castle, Trick or Treat at Canham Castle, and Ring in the New at Canham Castle, where all fine books are sold. You can find me at jeannieadams.com. You can find me, as Nancy said, I spend too much time on Twitter, like Nancy said. And you can also find me on Instagram, where I'm posting pictures of Scotland all the time, and here on ConTinual all the time too.
Fun. Man, pardon me, Donna.
Okay, well, I already mentioned that my book that you can find at the moment is Ring in the New at Cayman Castle with Dancing with Gargoyles. But I have a book, How to Bait a Dangerous Rake, that's sitting with my agent who's trying to find a home for it. And I really like that story, but I imagine the title's going to change because that's kind of a long title, but good story. And I'm writing right now the next book in that series, which is A Rake in Sheep's Clothing. So I think I have one more in that series, in the Rake Patrol series, and I'll be done with it. Yay. So you can find my books where you can find about my books. You can find out about me at my website, which is www.DonnaMacMeans. Now, MacMeans is spelled MacMeans, or think of a Big Mac and then a mean person and make it plural. That's me.com. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook. I try to avoid social media because I get sucked in, and Facebook is enough for me to deal with. So find me on Facebook, easy, Donna MacMeans, and I love to chat, love to talk. So That's me.
Okay, Hildie?
Well, I have a book coming out. It's called The Stag, and it's the 5th book in the Clan Ross of the Hebrides series, and it is a opposite worlds. And also the heroic guy who sweeps in to save the day, except for she doesn't really want to be saved. And so I'm really excited. That book comes out on February 15th. Yeah, The Stag. And you can find me mostly on Facebook. I'm on there every day in the morning, and then I come back. Sometimes I swoop in during the afternoon when I get, need a break from writing. So I'm always on there. So I answer, private messages or comments, that kind of stuff. So where else am I? I'm everywhere. I'm on Instagram. Well, no, I'm not on anywhere. Just Instagram. Twitter, hardly ever. But yeah, usually everything's under my name, Hildie McQueen.
Okay. Kiki?
My latest release is this weekend, actually, the 5th. It's Wrath, Wolves of Resurrection Road. That's the 3rd book. So Pride and Lust are already out, and then Wrath, and then Envy is coming soon. You can reach me on Facebook. My reader group is Kiki's Den. I'm pretty much always in there, just kind of messing around when I should be writing. I also have a website, www.kikiburrelli.com, and then Instagram, and yeah, I think I'm everywhere too. Everywhere. Probably right next to you right now.
I'm pretty easy to find. The websites are gailzmartin.com and morganbrice.com. Remember to put the Z in there and spell Brice right, and you found me on pretty much all of social media. I'm out there quite a bit, especially on Facebook, but also on Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram and a bunch of other stuff. And of course, here on ConTinual. The new book is The Devil You Know, which is the 6th Witchbane book, and that comes out February 8th. And there will be more stuff after that. So lots of good stuff coming up here. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much to our wonderful panelists. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There'll be more romance coming up here on ConTinual. So we'll see you online.